Everyone knows who wrote The Cat in the Hat, but how well do you know its author? Today we're going to venture to learn a little more about Dr. Seuss, his background, his impact on literacy, and a few little-known facts about him. Born in 1904 as Theodore Seuss Gazelle to a small family in Springfield, Massachusetts, our beloved Dr. Seuss was a son to a brewmaster and former bakery help. He lived through the Prohibition, both World Wars, and the Great Depression. He even served in the Army during World War II. Let's explore his writing career from its birth to the publishing of his first children's novel. His writing began long before the children's books we all grew up with. While attending Dartmouth, he wrote for the humor magazine, contributing as editor until he threw a party against school rules, and afterwards he began using the pseudonym Seuss in order to continue to contribute to the work. This is the Seuss that morphed into the Dr. Seuss we all know so dearly. He drew cartoons for the Saturday Evening Post, did advertising for Standard Oil, and even was the artist behind political cartoons and military training films during World War II. It wasn't until after this time, well into middle age, that he took his first steps into the world of children's books as an illustrator rather than an author. His first children's book was And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which was published in 1937 after over 43 rejections from over 20 different publishing companies. He was said to have nearly burned the manuscript out of frustration from all the rejections. According to Seussville.com, Dr. Seuss wrote and illustrated a total of 44 children's books over his lifetime. Now that we've learned a little about his birth and working life, let's explore how his creations have impacted literacy for the world of books. Dr. Seuss's impact on literacy is celebrated still today. His birthday, March 2nd, has been proclaimed National Read Across America Day by the National Education Association. On this day, communities across the nation celebrate reading and literacy through stimulating and exciting activity for children of all ages. His creations have engaged and inspired readers, both young and old, challenging pronunciations with lines like, "Through 3 cheese trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, freezy breeze blew," and inspiring the imaginations with characters such as the Flummox and Lummox, which may sound just like silly made-up names, but they're actually real words. Beyond his use of rhyme, vocabulary, and alliteration, Dr. Seuss's books also typically teach a lesson. For example, in the well-known story The Lorax takes a stand on environmentalism and protecting our resources responsibly. His impact on books at the time he began publishing was monumental in that he completely wiped out the boring and proper Dick and Jane books that were available at the time. His works, however, are not dated. Life magazine now estimates that 1 in 4 American children receive a Dr. Seuss book as their first book. While researching Dr. Seuss, I came across some interesting facts about him. First and foremost, his name is mispronounced by nearly everyone. Theodore pronounced the name Seuss like voice rather than Seuss like Zeus. Secondly, Dr. Seuss was not a doctor, and he actually added this to his pseudonym because his father had wanted him to earn a doctorate and become a professor. Finally, I also assumed Dr. Seuss would have had children to inspire his stories or at least enjoy them, but he and his first wife Helen could actually not produce children, and he never had any with his second wife Audrey either. Audrey was actually quoted in an interview as saying that Dr. Seuss was actually slightly afraid of children and didn't know what to do with them. Today we have explored in depth a well-known children's author that has made his way into not only our heads and our hearts, but those of our parents, children, and children for years to come. We have discussed noticeable instances in his background, his impact on reading, and some little-known facts about him. In the great words of Dr. Seuss in the book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, you'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with great care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. Thank you for listening.